Okay, welcome to Into the Channel podcast, primarily about women's football. Before we hit the pitch, if you enjoy the show or love women's football as much as your boys do, come kick it with us already. Subscribe, follow YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. I'm your host, Dino De Cespedes, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Grant Angle. What is up, man?
I'm feeling fantastic, buddy. We're spanning the globe here. We got a little international football. We got to watch USA play at Wembley, historic stadium. Mm-hmm. Now we get to watch them take on Orange at The Hague in Netherlands. We're spanning the globe. We're worldwide.
I love it. Yeah, we're hopping on one of those tiny planes just to kind of scoot around Europe and, stamping our passports and just kind of trying to get a feel for this U.S. women's national team on this short but highly compelling European tour.
For the record, I am more of a train guy. I think we could get a train from London to The Hague. I'll have to check that out. But this is actually all just a gigantic figure of speech, so I probably won't waste my time doing that. I digress. Sorry, buddy. Please go ahead.
All good. So these two teams lock up this week, again, on the heels of both of these teams in action in some pretty compelling matchups. We talked a little bit earlier this week about USA, England. The Netherlands also found themselves in a bit of a friendly matchup. They took on China. That one ended 4-1, but I think a little bit of a deceiving scoreline. China was up, I think, until like the 70th minute, maybe a little bit later, 1-0 before the Netherlands just brought on a bunch of excellent attacking players who just unleashed absolute destruction on that China defense to hang 4 on them.
Yeah, Jin Kuhn for China had a really hard-fought goal in the 34th minute to open up the scoring. Kind of was able to kind of muscle past the defender, knock it past the keeper.
Great goal.
Yeah, great goal. And China looked scrappy throughout. Didn't have a ton of shots on goal, but just looked like they understood what they were supposed to do. They're going to go in there. They're going to play some underdog football, even though there weren't a lot of Netherlands stars weren't in the starting lineup. I think China knew, like, okay, let's get out there. Let's make this as close as possible. They were able to muscle up and get that goal, go into halftime with a 1-0 lead. There's a little bit of history between these squads, too. I'm going to rewind it all the way back to the 2015 World Cup, where China was able to get a victory over the Netherlands 1-0. They had a goal at the absolute death of a group stage match. And that was back when the format was 6 groups of 4, and there were 4 third-place teams that would make the knockout stage from the groups. And China's win over the Netherlands in that group stage match actually made it. So the Dutch were the third-place team in their group that made it to the knockout stage later on. So I don't know if there's any bad blood remaining, but I do remember that 2015, for anybody who's watched the show, I think I've said, 1999 was obviously like the big bang for women's football in the United States. But the 2015 Women's World Cup was the first one played in Canada. So it was similar time zones. It was the first one that I was really able to kind of lock in and kind of started my interest in women's football in general. Again, another digression for me. I don't know if there's any bad blood left over from that 1-0 loss at a group stage, but the Netherlands, after they brought on all their stars around the 70th minute, it seemed like they took that personally, as Michael Jordan would say.
Yeah. You look at the subs: Lynn Wilms, Jill Roord, Esme Brooks, Daniela Van de Donk, Lynette Bernstein. A pretty good unit to be able to bring onto the pitch. You look at this Netherlands side, they've got a lot of talent, and it's a really great mix of young players. We mentioned some of those veterans that came on late, but you look at some of these young players, 25 and under. Damaris, she's 25. Kirsten Kasperai, Lynn Wilms, Daphne van Domselaar, all 24. Chastity Grant, Rome Luchter, both 23. Esme Brooks, 21. And Vika Kaptein, who had herself a game against China with a goal and assist, just 19 years old, and looks like an excellent player as well. This Netherlands side will have something a little bit different than England was able to put forth against the U.S. women's national team. I kind of feel like there's going to be a little bit less tape, a little bit less predictability from this side. And, they got a ton of vets in addition to all those young players that I rattled off. So yeah, a lot of options for Netherlands coach Andres Jonker. And you mentioned the potential bad blood between China and Netherlands. I'm not sure if there's any of that left, but our guy Jonker, during the 2023 World Cup, when speaking about the U.S. women's national team, had that famous quote, "In the past, the American women were a lot fitter than the rest of the world, but I really think those days are over." If you look at the Champions League nowadays, you see the same level of intensity. So the big question is now, what is left of their superiority? Let's see about that end quote.
There we go. Yeah, bad blood confirmed. I know Lynette Bierenstein was kind of talking some shit too in that tournament, and for good reason. I mean, Lynette Bierenstein should not be afraid of a single player on this planet. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of great players. We saw Vika Kaptein net herself, I believe, her first Champions League goal against Celtic just a few weeks back. Really exciting, good player. Came over from FC Twente on a free transfer. So, yeah, I think they're going to present some issues for the USA. But to be honest, I mean, it's really going to be lineup dependent, because if the USA is going to line up Gurma and Sonnet as their center backs again, which, they might not, considering they just played a match on Saturday and this match is being played on Tuesday. If you get Gurma full strength against the Netherlands, I would not be that afraid if I'm, a USA supporter. But if Emma Hayes completely shakes the snow globe, then those players, they might be able to present some real danger for USA.
Yeah, when I think about England, a lot was made of the 1 versus 2 measuring stick nature of this match.
Sure.
And, I always kind of do a lot of relating. I know you relate women's football to college football in the States. I always kind of, for some reason, try to compare women's football to the fighting sports.
I love it.
You see this sometimes when two great fighters are sparring each other. It's like, okay, this isn't for the title. They're each trying to get each other ready for some other big matchup, but it's well worth watching and breaking down and paying very, very close attention to, because you can learn a lot. It did kind of feel like Emma Hayes nor Serena Wiegman wanted to give that match away. So it was very defensive. Like, even when you think about the offensive attacking talent that wasn't on the pitch, it did kind of feel like that kind of chess match. The Netherlands does not come into this match with the same agenda. England playing the United States to a draw felt right for them. Even though they're at home, they probably were disappointed for sure. The second-ranked team, defending champions of Europe. The Netherlands, though, are kind of like a little bit of a notch below. They have qualified for the 2025 Euros. They finished fourth in UEFA Nations League. This is a team that is not part of the absolute upper crust where you might think, okay, there's England, there's Spain, France, Germany are kind of right there, in that top 4. Netherlands is at the very top of that next group of European teams, I think, in my opinion. But the creativity that they have on that team, the diversity, like we talk about old and young, different ways that they can approach things. Some young players coming into their own. Romeo Luchter, I think, is a player that you can kind of like draw a circle around. Definitely in that camp. Vika Kaptein as well, for sure.
Yeah.
It does feel like they're going to be able to throw stuff at the USA that I don't want to say is going to be tough to deal with, but I think is going to be new. Like new things that they're seeing, that it's going to be interesting to see how the United States defense.
I think that's fair. I know this is a short episode, but I'm just going to crack another brewski.
Go for it.
And it's by Rubens Brews out here in lovely Seattle, and it's called Stay Frosty IPA. And the reason behind that is because I will say, so the Netherlands, they're ranked number 11 in the world in the FIFA rankings. So I think kind of where you're placing them in your mind, like, do you think they're better than Brazil?
I don't think so.
I didn't think you would. And Brazil's ranked above them. And Colombia, it's like, you could make some arguments that Colombia with
That's
Ramirez,
a good matchup. That's a good matchup.
I will tell you, though, I don't think Netherlands views themselves the same way. I mean, you think about that 2023 group stage match. You had the shoving match between Van de Donk and her Lyon teammate, Lindsay Horan. Netherlands walked away from that match thinking, we absolutely should have won that game. And so I think if you're the Netherlands, I think you kind of look at USA and say, okay, they don't have their 3 best forwards, and who knows if Emma Hayes is going to push it with a player like Gurma, or even a player who's a little bit older in Sonnet, or a player who's a little bit older in Kruger. Like, who are we going to see out there? Can we get some goals? We brought on Bierenstein late against China. Why do you do that? Maybe it's because you want her to start against USA and see if she can cash in early.
I think so. I mean, if you're watching the England tape, you're probably thinking, okay, maybe we want to try to attack some of these wide channels and see what we can do. I think the
Yes.
Netherlands pretty well situated from that standpoint. And I do feel like they've got a couple players that can make the U.S. think a little bit, at least from distance. You look at that goal that Esme Brooks scored, the 4th against China, where she gets that insane 10-yard run up. I think I was telling you a little bit earlier, kind of harkened back to a UFC fighter, kind of flying from their corner at the bell and just kind of like delivering a flying kick. Kind of had the same level of ferocity.
Yeah.
And just the placement on it was, I mean, impeccable. We've seen Esme Brooks score tremendous goals, and you shouldn't be surprised, but you're also still really surprised that somebody's able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about the players that can kind of reach that rarefied air, but maybe not able to kind of get there consistently, like a Mary Fowler, I think we were talking about as well. Esme Brooks definitely in that category where her best is like, holy shit. Like it really, it's like let me watch this 25 more times. A player like that in a match like this, I think could really kind of flip things and make it extremely interesting, because now without a triple espresso, what do you go to if you're Emma Hayes and you're down a goal and you really kind of want to make a statement in a match like this on the road?
And they're going to be playing what I would assume is going to be a pretty intense environment. And so you ask yourself, like, what do you go to? You kind of look at the roster. Yeah, obviously you have, 159 caps from Lindsay Horan. She's not exactly your goal-scoring threat, even though she is currently leading Lyon in goals in the D1F season. She has 9 goals on the season, by the way. I think we were talking about an episode or two ago. She had like 4 in one match, had a hat trick before halftime.
Saint Etienne gave him that work.
There you go. But, she's not playing Saint Etienne in this match. So I think, you think about it. Yeah, Lynn Williams, she has 73 caps. But other than that, Yasmin Ryan has 3. Emma Sears has 3. Ali Sentnor now has 1. Jaden Shaw has 20. Alyssa Thompson has 12. We're not talking about an experienced forward room here outside of Lynn Williams. Anybody who's playing for the Netherlands or their manager, Jonker, if you look at this and think, okay, we got home field, they're coming off a match where they played most of their experienced players because they wanted to have a good showing at Wembley. We just came off a match against China where we brought on all our good players for the last 20 minutes of the match. If you can get a win against USA at The Hague, and you're the Netherlands manager, just like thinking about it, like almost from his perspective of like, now you just look at the federation and go, pretty good, right? And like, if you're those players, you want that on your resume. The more we talk about this, the more I think they're going to come out absolutely firing, and USA is going to have a response to that.
Well, that response might be in the form of one Lily Johannes.
I bet.
Let's go. I kind of wish Lily had gotten a couple of Lily minutes at Wembley just to kind of, warm up the engine.
Yeah.
But with this match on the calendar looming, I think the announcement came a few weeks ago. So it would seem extremely fitting that she would play in this match. And I kind of feel like would bring some of the energy we need to match some of the unpredictability and kind of like, not saying that what the US has been doing has been a little bit stale, but I think it speaks a lot when you see like an Alyssa Thompson come in and really jump off the screen. Yasmin Ryan kind of do the same. We're like, okay, wow, now we're seeing some injections here of some new stuff.
Yeah.
But I think Johannes would be really great. A lot of familiarity with a lot of those players. Some Ajax players up and down the Netherlands roster. Spitza, Chastity Grant's moved on to the WSL, but Luchter obviously, she's also moved on to PSG.
Mm-hmm.
But still a lot of familiarity with some of those players. Could be really interesting. We do hope that she gets a good response and ovation from that crowd.
I think she will. I think the fact that both federations kind of took part in the announcement. I know Ajax congratulated her on making her decision and saying, obviously they clearly want the best for her, as any good club would. I don't think anybody ever doubted that. But yeah, I think that's going to be a great moment. I want to see Hal Hirschfeld minutes. I want to see way more Ali Sentnor minutes.
Yep.
So don't get me wrong here when I say that the Netherlands are going to come out here and they're going to come out swinging. The USA is not underdogs in this matchup, just to be clear. Doesn't matter that it's at The Hague. Doesn't matter. The USA are underdogs against very few teams in the world. And in fact, I would say maybe just Spain. I don't think they're an underdog against anybody else. So I just think they need to be prepared to take Netherlands' best punch. And, knowing Emma Hayes, they probably will be, but it's a different animal once you get there and there are tens of thousands of people screaming at you while you're playing.
Yeah, that creates an interesting potential scenario. I keep thinking back to the Emma Hayes quote where she made reference to, totally paraphrasing here, the US being able to field 2 teams that would be extremely competitive.
Right.
I would love to maybe see like a, not quite 25 and under, type approach, but what would it look like if it's like Sentnor, Sams, Hirschfeld, to your point, Johannes, I'd love to see Emma Sears get another chance. Obviously
Yeah.
she didn't totally shine against England, a really tough matchup. We talked about her having to go at Alex Greenwood.
Yeah.
Would love to see some more Emma Sears minutes and just see, like, what do we have? Do we have some pairings with some of these young players? And I'm really thinking more offensively, but I don't know, mix it up. Let's get some new groupings in there. Let's get a different midfield. This would be a great spot for something like that.
100% agree. I'm really excited to watch the match. It might have to be a no spoiler situation. It's during the middle of our workday on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I got stuff I got to do. That's all right. I digress. Do you have a score prediction, my friend?
I'm going to say 1-1.
You son of a bitch. We're too linked up. Okay. That's exactly what I was going to say. I thought I was going to surprise you with it. Why?
Yeah, I think it's 1-1. I think the Netherlands steal one. I think we get a little bit of a Van Domselaar game where she just looks a little bit like a wall.
Yeah.
And maybe some of those young American attacking players get looks. I think we break through with something, but ultimately a game that we probably feel like we're in control of from the U.S. perspective, but aren't able to kind of like break all the way through and pull out a win. So, yeah, another draw for the U.S. Women's National Team. Give me 1-1.
Okay. Give me the same. Let me try to add my own spin on it. I think Bierenstein scores the goal for the Netherlands. I think it comes before halftime. USA gets the equalizer, and I'm going to go with Jaden Shaw, assisted by Lily Johannes.
Ooh, let's go.
The Shadow EP and I were on a walk the other day, and she was just like, because, I was obviously bothering her by telling her my Orlando Pride 1-0 prediction was spot on, and I'm a soothsayer. I have a crystal ball in my office. And she was like, you never talk about the predictions you get wrong. I go, not important. I don't need to. It's our show. We just never speak of them again. So if I get this one right, I'll talk about like I'm the smartest man alive. And if not, we'll just keep it pushing.
Yeah. And I love that you called me out for changing some of my predictions. But hey, shit changes. What do you, I'm not going to, tell you that the Portland's going to win the championship and they look terrible or...
There you go. You know what? You got new information. I applaud you for taking in the new information and making new predictions.
We call that training data in technology. We just utilize it and optimize these algorithms, make better decisions as we go, and off to the races.
I like it.
Okay, as mentioned, this one's going down Tuesday. Very excited. Can't wait to see the lineups. Can't wait to see what these teams do when the ball's rolling. We'll be back later this week with our Decemberfest episode featuring our guy, Peter Weiss, talking all things German football. We're going to talk about Bayern Wolfsburg and their Champions League prospects. We'll dive into the Frauen Bundesliga, talk a little German national team, and then we'll be back next week with the Match Day 5 preview, December 11th, December 12th. Champions League returns. We're going to be talking key matchups, machinations, who's in, who's out. We're going to check in on the big clubs, see how they're doing in their domestic leagues. So definitely stick around for that. Mr. Grand Angle, anything else you want to hit before we get out of here?
I think we covered it. I'm very much looking forward to this match. And I think just us talking about it kind of turned on some light bulbs for me. So I'm looking forward to it even more now.
Awesome. Well, no spoilies in both directions. I think I got a meeting or two on Tuesday that I'll have to check in on.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I think we did it. This has been another episode of Into the Channel. A sincere thank you for watching, listening, following, liking, subscribing, just plain hanging out with your boys and traversing the European continent as we track all of these key matchups. And remember to like if you liked and subscribe or follow Into the Channel, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to watch or listen. Leave us a review over your favorite podcast app. Links to all of our socials in the show notes of this episode. And a big thank you to my co-host as well, Mr. Grand Angle, for by train, by plane, doesn't matter. There's a big match. I already know my guy's going to be here by our side, storytelling, doing all the things that we do here at the ITC. I appreciate you, bro.
Likewise, buddy. And you know what? While I'm in the business of making predictions, I predict that ITC will continue to have the best damn internet pals in the podcasting space. So thank you all for rocking with us. And I will also predict that you will educate me on anything that I missed or anything, or let us know if we ran afoul of anything. And so we thank you for that. And we will talk to you all next time.